Hello and welcome back to another episode of Solo No More. I'm your host, Catrice, and today we're going to be spilling some tea. To be completely honest, this is not spicy, it is not piping hot. It's piping hot in the sense that this is fresh tea, but it's not hot and spicy tea. Like, I'm going to be completely honest, this is pretty lukewarm, but I did poke fun at the situation on Instagram, and people were like, story time, spill the tea. So here I am to give some context. But again, I'm going to be completely honest, lukewarm. But let's dive in. I was part of a Facebook group, and I recently got booted out of the Facebook group. Long story short, right there. I joined this Facebook group back in 2022, and it was at the start of my serious career in the photography industry. Obviously, I'm not a photographer, though there are people who think that that is in the cards for me. Sometimes I do think about picking up a camera, but I don't know. But this Facebook group has like K people in it. Not everyone is a photographer. Most of them are. Some are photographers who side hustle as something else, like an online service provider. So that could be web designer, graphic designer, social media manager, whatever. There are styled shoot models in there. There are other photography coaches, even though this group is a photography education group already run or at least hosted or set up by, because we'll dive into the wording of that and why that matters. But the group was set up by a photography coach who has online courses and things like that. But it was full of just people from the photography industry. I joined this group when I was starting my styled shoot modeling because I wanted to get some exposure. I wanted to find people who were looking for models. And then also, I was at the time kind of working as an unpaid assistant, like intern to a photographer who at the time was one of my really good friends. And it was just one of those situations where I kind of fell into it and I never asked to get paid. And yeah, so I was putting in a lot of work, a lot of hours, but I was getting a lot of experience that has helped me, since. And I kind of just joined the group because I wanted to promote myself. And then I had questions as I was helping my photographer friend, like how to handle different situations that were coming up with her clients and her styled shoot attendees. So I would pop in there and ask questions. Now, fast forward a little bit, eventually I'm like, okay, I want to start utilizing this group to kind of build my business. I would like to make more money. I'm full-time as an entrepreneur, so need more clients, and I love working with photographers. I would love to work with more photographers. So I was like, I could utilize this group for that. The thing is that one of the rules of the group is that there is no self-promotion. So anytime I would try to promote my services, my posts would get taken down, which I always thought was really wild because there were a ton of people who didn't follow this rule. But I'd see their posts all the time and they'd get so many comments and people interested in stuff. And I was like, what is happening? But ultimately, it came down to the wording of how I was setting up my post. The way I was wording it, it flagged people, whatever. Going on though, eventually I was like, how can I start generating leads in a way that is not going to get me flagged? How can I do this in a way that is not going to get my post taken down? And last summer, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start auditing people's Instagrams. I was already kind of doing it here and there as people were asking questions about how to improve their Instagram, about Instagram marketing. And I'd be like, oh, drop your link. And then I would go and then I would respond with here are some tips to do. And then other people would see that comment and they'd be like, oh, can you do mine too? So eventually I started doing official posts where I'd be like, hey, does anyone want a free mini Instagram audit? Drop your Instagram. And at first I was doing these audits within the Facebook group. So it was I would make the post, people would drop their Instagram, and then I would just respond to their comment with my little audit. And eventually I got to this point where I was like, I need to move people from this group to my Instagram. I need to move it to somewhere that I own a little bit more. But let's be honest, we don't own our Instagram. We run our Instagram accounts, but we don't own Instagram, the app. The app could go away tomorrow. We are dealing with this TikTok ban situation, and we are seeing the reality of we don't own these social media platforms, and it really, really matters to have a website, an email list, and those types of things. But this is kind of what was happening is almost, in Facebook group form, it was like having an email list and having a lead magnet and posting it on my Instagram stories and being like, hey, move here. I was doing that within this group. I was like, hey, who wants a free audit? Oh, you want a free audit? Go check your Instagram DMs. There's your audit. And then they would be like, ooh, this is so amazing. Let me follow her. And then we'd start conversations and I would try to pitch and then they would fail. And I was pitching into this, like pitching the people who were doing audits for a year before I actually had someone sign on, which was, really disappointing for me in terms of the fact that I was just like giving out all this free information. But I ultimately realized after hiring a coach and kind of auditing the process and how I was handling these sales combos is I would give this free audit and then I would continue to give them all this free information. They'd ask questions, all these follow-up questions, and I was answering them. And there wasn't really like a paywall. Now there is, like if you have a conversation with me eventually there and you're like asking questions and you're wanting to pick my brain, eventually there will come to a point where I'm like, hey, this is actually starting to turn into more coaching and private, like one-on-one support. This is something that I do reserve for paying clients type of deal. I've talked about Megan on my stories. I've talked about Megan on this podcast. Megan's wonderful. That was such a game changer in terms of like, how, just signing clients ultimately is being able to have a paywall where I was like, I love you. I want to support you, but I also need to be able to put food on the table and I can't just be giving you all my time and energy. So going on though, I'm doing these audits. By the time that I got booted, and I'm recording this on Saturday, January 18th, I got booted on Thursday, January 16th. By the time I got booted, I had audited over 400 photographers' Instagram accounts. The reason that I don't have an exact number is because I only have the numbers that I tracked on Canva, because there was a point where I was putting too much time and energy into these mini audits because I would create little cute designs, send people the link to them. But I have those, and then I have my notes app. But then I obviously did not do a really good, thorough job of tracking the audits that I was doing within the Facebook group. But ultimately, I created a funnel. Facebook group, they are like, I want an audit. I get them in the DMs. They follow me. They consume my content. And after a year of pitching, after a year of offering these mini audits, eventually it started going Facebook group, Instagram DMs. They follow me. They like some of my content. I pitch. And then we go right into having them in an evergreen support network. Now, the thing is that I wasn't just responding to people's posts. I was also creating my own posts. I would say most of the time when I would create my own posts, I would get pretty good traction. People would ask follow-up questions in the comments. People would try sliding into my DMs and asking for like support. And then I'd have to be like, hey, if you want me to answer your question, you need to drop it in the comment section. Like, you're not getting private one-on-one coaching. And so what happened on Thursday when I got booted is I woke up in the morning. I went on Facebook after doing my morning routine and I saw like 3 or 4 posts about mini sessions, about Valentine's Day mini sessions and how people were struggling to book theirs out. So I started popping off. I posted like 7 different posts. I don't even know. I know I posted at least 5 because someone commented about it, and we'll get to that. But I started popping off. I got over 50 Instagram followers that morning. I had like 500 notifications from Facebook between comments and likes and people DMing me for information. But I was just posting tips and tricks. It was fun and light and nothing really to it other than just like, here's some free advice. Now, here's the thing. When I started offering these mini audits during the summer of 2023, I would have moments where I would post like mini audits, and then I would also, to try to build some traction and get people familiar with my name, increase brand visibility, those types of things, I would post some other things into the group. So then, my post would start populating more on people's feeds. I would start having these feelings where I was like, today's the day. today is the day I'm going to get booted. I'm getting too much attention. Like if anything kind of went viral to a certain degree in the group, I would be like, oh my gosh, I am going to get booted. And every time that would happen, I didn't get booted. But on Thursday, when things started popping off, this was like the most attention I had gotten in the group. And I was like, this is it. I had a gut feeling. And then people started to leave comments like, you should start your own Facebook group. And that is when like it really locked in. I was like, this is the end. If I had stayed in the group, if I hadn't gotten booted on Thursday, I would have been shook. Absolutely shook. I wouldn't have understood why. Because ultimately people were starting to be like, do your own. I would join. And other people, like people would post that as a comment, and then other people would respond to that and be like, I would join too. I would join too. Like, me 3. But I really think the nail in my coffin, and ultimately at the end of the day, let me just preface the fact that no one reached out to me. There was no conversation between me and the group creator. I will also note that I have tried reaching out to the group creator before because I wanted to set up a system where I would be allowed to promote my offer in the group, but then the group like creator, I would have a little form. I have a form, an intake form for Evergreen Support Network, and there would be a question on the form that would say, did you come from blank Facebook group? And if people checked yes, then I would give the group creator a percentage of that first payment, or however we negotiated it. Very affiliate program-esque. I never heard from the group creator on any of my attempts to kind of reach out. And I didn't hear from the group creator before I got booted. So really this is all speculation on what was the nail in the coffin. But something that I do think that played into it is the fact that people were calling to attention the fact that the group creator was not, the lighting in the office is getting funky. Hold up. Okay. But people were starting to call to attention the fact that the group creator was not present in the group. Because someone commented on one of my posts saying, girl, I love your advice, but you've posted like 5 times. Basically telling me to shut the fuck up. Which I get it. I'm going to turn this on. Oh, I can't. I just attempted to turn my light on, but I think Reese connected it to the light switch now, so I can't do it manually here. Okay, going on though. This girl basically told me to shut up and stop posting. And then other people started ganging up on her and being like, why don't you like free advice? We love her free advice, that type of stuff. And then someone commented and said, blank, the group creator, isn't even present in this group. Something up to that. That's not like a direct quote, but like basically calling out the fact that the creator of the group is not present, which is true. In the 2+ years that I was in the group, I hardly ever saw the group creator post. But I get it. Ultimately, one of the reasons I didn't start a Facebook group is because I've seen this time and time again where course creators create a community, a free group. It blows up. It's getting lots of tractions. It kind of just takes care of itself. So they don't need to, like, the members of the group are answering questions. So it's like the group creator no longer needs to be present, or they just kind of get tired, like they no longer, like it's a free group, so there is no incentive for them to really continue to be present. I've seen this happen with a lot of different groups that I've been part of, lots of different courses that I've bought that have had Facebook groups attached to them. I don't really know why for this particular group, what the reasoning was, but she wasn't very present. But someone started to call it out, and other people were starting to chime in on that. And that is one of the reasons that I think kind of was the nail in the coffin, was it was kind of this like, well, we love Catrice because she's actually present. She shows up for us, where this person is not. It's kind of like, it felt like this situation, and I've had this happen before when I invested in a mastermind, where I invested in this mastermind wanting to work with a particular coach, thinking that I was going to get the support of a particular coach. But the coach had supporting coaches within the program, and I ended up interacting with more of those coaches than the actual coach that I invested in. And my thought is, I imagine that people joined this Facebook group thinking that they were going to get support and attention from the group creator. And then I think that there are some like negative feelings about the fact that they are not present in their own group. And then I was showing up and I was being present and I was being active. And so it was kind of like, at least Catrice is here type of deal. And then when that comment dropped, I just knew. I was like, this is it. This is it. This is the end. People are telling me I should have my own Facebook group and that they would rather be in that they would join that instead. And now people are calling out, kind of comparing me to this group creator and kind of pitting us against each other to a certain degree. I was like, this is it. And so in that feeling of this is it, I was like, I'm going to go Hail Mary. I'm going to try to get as many people to follow me on Instagram, to join Evergreen Support Network if they're able to. And I created a Facebook group. I was very hesitant to create a Facebook group. I didn't want to for a really long time because of the management that goes into it. Running a free community is amazing, but there does come a point where it's like 40,000 people in a group. That's a lot of posts per day. That's a lot of people wanting support. I do think that there is a balance that can be found between, group members taking care of each other and then also you as the group host and creator being present and being able to also provide feedback and support. But in the past, I had thought about having a Facebook group and it just was never super appealing to me. But as I started realizing, I was like, my time, like, I've used up all of my time. And I knew this was a calculated risk. Me starting to offer these mini audits, me starting to share free advice in the group, like, it was a calculated risk that I was willing to take because ultimately I was like, there are 40,000 people in this group. Even if I can get 10 people to move from this group to following me on Instagram and then pay for my services, that's huge. It was a calculated risk. And honestly, let's be honest, you would do it too for a check. But with all that, I could feel the time coming to an end in this group. I was like, I'm going to create a Facebook group because now I'm in a place where I can balance it a little bit more. I'm more invested in it. I love working with photographers. When I first got into this Facebook group, I liked working with photographers. They were cool, but I was also in a place where I was like, I just want someone to give me money. I just need someone to give me money so I can put food on the table, so I can keep a roof over my head. And now I'm like in a place where I'm like, I love working with photographers and I love the impact that I can have on their businesses. And I freaking love the excitement. I just popped one of my fake nails off. That's unfortunate. I'll fix that later. I love the excitement of I booked my first wedding. I just booked out my mini sessions. I'm booked out for the year. Like I have one of my clients in ESN, one of the girls, she only needs like two or three more weddings for 2025 and then she's booked out and she has 3 consultation calls coming up, so like by the end of the month she could be booked out for 2025 and now it's a big deal. It's so cool and I love it, and I love working with other female business owners. I love just female entrepreneurs in general, but photographers truly have such a special place in my heart. And I also now have a lot of experience with the industry. I have a lot of experience with marketing photography services and everything. And so I'm able to help photographers get results. And that's just so exciting to see. And I love helping them build their businesses. And I was like, if I'm going to lose, like part of my daily routine, part of my weekly routine was going into this Facebook group and, I would go to the Facebook group. I would set the thing to newest post so it would be chronological, and I would go through and for like 5 to 10 minutes and just answer questions. Like that was part of my like routine, as I was like, okay, I need to go and check. And then as my time was, coming to an end on Thursday, I was like, I'm going to miss this. And I want to continue to be connected in this way. So I was like, I'm going to make a Facebook group. And I just started, when as people responded to the post that I had posted being like, I needed to hear this. Like, this is gold. I'd respond and be like, if you liked this, I'd love to have you join my Facebook group, and I would link it. I also think that contributed to me getting booted because I started, I have a competing Facebook group, a Facebook community, and I started promoting it. So I think that also contributed to it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, my days were numbered. They were numbered from the beginning. They were numbered from the moment that I decided that I was going to start using this group for lead generation to make money for myself. I didn't own the group, very much like I don't own Instagram. I don't own TikTok. Like, it truly became like the situation where you see these TikTok creators and they're like, go follow me on Instagram. Who's going to Red No? And they're trying to take their TikTok following and get them to follow them other places. And that's what I kind of did. I was like, this is a sinking ship. I am a sinking ship. I'm getting booted off the island. My time is limited. Here is a way to continue connecting with me. But yeah, like, again, not super hot and spicy, but lots of good like lessons learned. And I will forever cherish the time that I had in that Facebook group. Like, it was, without that Facebook group, I would not have the confidence that I have now in my skills and my experience. Like, I have met some absolutely amazing people from that group. I've gotten some epic clients from the group. Like, it's just the end of an era, but like a new chapter is beginning. And ultimately, at the end of the day, like, my time was limited from the beginning. So yeah, that's really all I have for you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you are a photographer, in the show notes, my link to my Facebook group will be there. Click it, join. I'd love to have you in there. I will be offering free mini Instagram audits. I will be doing Q&As and all the different things. The ESN girlies and I have talked about giveaways and doing hard drives and SD cards and all that stuff. They have a list of things that they think that you would like for free. So yeah, I will chat with you next week. Thanks again for listening to Solo No More.